I was overweight and looked terrible, but AIDS helped me lose 46 pounds. The AIDS diet plan helped me lose
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Oh my gosh, it's a podcast once again. What is it? Episode 53. I always like to act surprised when we're back again, as if
Like
I
we have
never
no
expected. Yeah. Oh.
Some days with
Podcast.
how consistent we are.
Well, I like the idea of I'm just sitting here and suddenly a podcast occurs in front of me and I have to say something. Oh no, podcast.
Oh crap, it's a podcast.
Oh.
It suddenly starts, you're on air, and you're like, oh gosh!
Podcast comes crawling out of my closet. What was that? Now I've got to say things, be not entertaining, and, do what we do. This is episode 53. Been a lot of drama this week. Before we get into it, I have a couple degenerates to introduce. Jason, how's it going?
Pretty good. Let's see. I watched some really terrible movies recently. They're so bad I can't even remember what their names were. Yeah, it's just trying. I think one was it was Space Milkshake was one of them. It has one of the guys from The Hobbit. He plays one of the Hobbits. I forget which one. Billy Boyd, maybe?
Oh.
Pippin!
Anyway, they're in space, and they're in charge of a space station that's supposed to keep like floating debris and stuff from interfering in the space lanes, and their computer's not working right, so they get this dude to come on board, and then this other guy who used to date one of the characters, he has this idea to manipulate time and space, and so he comes back as a duck, a rubber duck. It's weird. It's so bizarre. Anyway, the other thing, I've been getting some exercise recently. I've decided I used to like to go swimming, just do the lap swim, and I've taken that up again. So that's been really nice.
Oh, water is usually pretty good on joints and stuff. It's like a good workout, but it doesn't. You know, it's the most miserable part of working out, getting all heated up and sweaty, and it's a lot easier to do that in a pool.
Pretty true.
Sweet. Silver, nobody cares. What, you have a problem? Is there a problem,
But
Silver?
we don't have time to go into that.
I just resigned to my fate.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Well, how's my interesting week been? Because no one wants to hear it. I've been a
You're a
little bit
student.
behind.
You studied, you took tests.
Yeah, I've been a little bit behind in the homework department.
Oh no.
Great.
She's getting
But,
lazy.
you know, actually, do you have Silver's Corner queued up? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it is.
Been a while. Oh, thank goodness.
Okay, do share.
Well, like I said, I've been a little bit behind in the homework department. But guess what? I think you
Check
guys
it
can
out.
help me.
Oh, can we?
I have a thing. I have an assignment where I had to make a little story, but I'm not good with words. I know you guys are brilliant wordsmiths. So maybe you can help me with this. Let's see.
Okay.
I won't make you do all of them, but I
Oh
have
no.
3 stories,
Is this an,
and I'd like you to choose at least one of them.
is this Mad Libs? Like, what is this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you
Okay,
got for
so
me?
my 3 stories that I've totally made that I just can't find the right words for. I have A Letter from George, Generic Comic Superhero Movie, and Michael Bay.
Oh, give me the superhero
Would
one.
you like?
Superhero.
Which one?
The-
Oh, Generic Comic Superhero Movie?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, we'll start with Brett. I need a
Okay.
silly name.
Silver. Wow.
Uh, just me?
Yep. You have a silly name.
Okay. Alright. Jason, I need an unrealistic profession.
An unrealistic profession?
Yeah.
New York sewer tour guide.
New
You're going.
York.
You're going too silly for this thing.
New York sewer tour guide. Okay. Rhett, I need a country.
America.
Okay. America. Jason, I need another silly name.
Just a silly name?
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I'm staring at a Star Wars poster, so Han Solo.
Okay. Han Solo.
Remember, he
Right, I
was
need a
named
color.
that because he was alone. Green. Which we learned in the Solo movie.
Jason, an adjective.
Wooden.
Wooden. Brett, an adverb.
I don't know.
You can do it.
Um. Hey,
Well, it describes
accidentally.
how the verb is done.
Yeah, accidentally.
Okay.
All I could think of is
Accident.
verbs, and I was like, well, that's not right.
Okay, Jason, I need another silly name.
Let's see.
This better pay off.
Snoopy.
What?
This better pay off.
Snoopy.
Oh, Snoopy. Snoopy. Okay. Right, I need another silly name.
Sam.
Damn. Super silly. Jason, a facial feature.
Chin.
Chin. Rhett, another silly name.
George.
George.
How come when you
Jason, a US
talk to me,
city.
you sound sarcastic?
I'm writing it down.
Let's see. A U.S. city. Malad.
Lad. Rhett, another silly name.
Frederick.
Frederick. Okay, Jason, a verb.
How long is this story?
ending in ing.
Verb ending in ing.
Yeah.
Seeking.
Rhett, a noun.
Chair.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
Huh,
give us
great
this silly
word
story.
choices.
Give us this
Okay.
story.
My piece of homework here, that's totally gonna get me an A,
Uh-huh.
for a generic comic superhero movie. Here we go. Meet our hero Silver, a super intelligent New York sewer tour guide.
Uh,
A
it's
run-in
already
with the
incorrect.
Murica military. A run-in with the Murica military leads her to create her alter ego, Han Solo, a green wooden giant capable of great destruction. She accidentally battles the military. Oh no, you've set me up for failure here. She accidentally battles the military with her boyfriend Snoopy. Oh gosh. Eventually, it is discovered that our hero's longtime colleague Sam, distinguished by his chin, is trying to turn George into a weapon, leading to a climactic, if pointless, battle in downtown Malad with an evil version of the same giant alter ego called Frederick. Eventually, the enemy is subdued by seeking him with a chair. Awesome.
well done.
For help.
Oh.
Well done. Your homework will be finished. And that was another nonsensical Silver's Corner.
Glad we could help.
I forget how long that took me to make. That was a while ago, though.
Well, I'm start using it again.
Well, I mean, you have the ability to have your own little thing. I'm just saying. You're the only person that has.
Oh, I
your
haven't
own...
needed homework help before.
Uh-huh. Well, you're the only person that has your own intro and your own segment video. Technically, if we call the us arguing about stuff segment, the Jason segment, he kind of has a little thing. Where on earth were we? There's been a lot of new shows that have been coming out that I've been keeping up with. The Recruit is out, which is, I really enjoyed it, and that's one of those shows that nobody talked about that was on Netflix. So I've rewatched season 1 so I can get into season 2. I mean, it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those Netflix shows where nobody talked about it, and I'm confused as to why, because I quite enjoyed it. As opposed to The Night Agent, which was like #1 in this country for like a few weeks, and I thought that show sucked.
Was there any, like, anybody in the show that was being currently shunned by Hollywood? Was there anything that would be, considered controversial by certain people?
It wasn't woke. Like
which might explain why nobody wanted to watch it.
It was diverse.
Why it wasn't pushed anyway.
But it didn't feel ham-fisted or forced. It was just a show. And I was like, oh, so, a pleasant show, as opposed to there's like other shows where you're like, okay, all right. This guy shouldn't be here at this time of year in this part of the country. Despite that, it's good. It's a good show. I never got The Night Agent. Games. Oh goodness, I played a little bit of Elden Ring. Just to various bits. I haven't been super gaming. I played some Total War Warhammer, but that's always like a backstop. A little bit of Hearts of Iron 4. Regardless, not to push back the lead of this podcast, the main topic of our choice is the PlayStation Network, which, if you are aware, was down for about 24 hours, which is the longest I think it's been
Wow.
down in one sitting. It went down about 5-ish on Friday, and it stuck around for about 24 hours, as far as something like that. It came back up about 3 hours ago.
Wow.
As of this sitting, we have no explanation as to why it went down. And it wasn't regional, it was practically everywhere. From like Brazil to Japan, PlayStation Network was down, which caused no element of consternation across the internet of people just upset and angry, and the meme of I just want to play Call of Duty. There was a joke of I just want to play Call of Duty, and all of a sudden like an Xbox shows up luring in the background, like you could do that now. Which also opened the door for a bunch of other problems. So despite the network going down and the internet falling apart, the weeping and the gnashing of the teeth, it also opened up this problem, which I would like to talk about temporarily. It hasn't existed for a long time. Now, if anybody forgets, which me and Jason were there in the trenches at the time, when the Xbox One was announced, it had a lot of drama attached to it. Because with the initial announcement, there was this, they talked about how it was this new innovation. It's going to do all these things. It's going to have an always online sort of DRM element where it will check in every so often with the servers. It will update in the background. It will always be available. And the immediate reaction was, yeah, but not everybody can be online all of the time. Not everybody has very good internet connections.
To which Microsoft responded, they can always get an Xbox 360.
Yes, that was their response. Well, we have a product if you have that problem. It's like, so buy something else? Like, there have been some awful takes from some of these big gaming companies over the years. What was the Sony response when people talked about how expensive the PS3 was, which like the high-end version of the PS3 was like $700? And you remember Sony's executive response?
No, not on that one.
It was essentially people will work harder in order to afford it.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, this is really expensive. Well, people will work harder. It's like, that's not an answer. You'll put in more hours because it's worth it. It's like a girl
which is really funny considering their
fancy
response
meal
to the Microsoft thing.
Yeah. Well, Microsoft had all this drama with the being able to share games and whatnot, and they had this joke response of, here's how you share with Sony, and he just gives it to his friend, and then that's it. Because there was this drama of like, it'll be your game code will be attached to your console, and it can only be shared or traded so many times, which would have destroyed the used game industry. Regardless, there was all of this drama. It just, Sony's response to that reminded me of like some lady expecting a really high-end like date or whatever, and it's like, you'll work more hours because I'm worth it. And it's like, all right, Sony, calm your buns. Regardless, this opened up a whole mess of drama with the Xbox and the expectation of these things. Little did we know that a lot of those features ended up in these consoles slowly over time without them talking about it because they were so unpopular. What do I mean? Because there were a lot of single-player games that weren't working because the network was down. That's right.
Wow.
It couldn't check in with the servers. There were certain features. It's like if you had a game you downloaded because you got it off of like PlayStation Network, and network allows you to play so many games on there. It's like Game Pass sort of thing. And you don't have network available. It wasn't letting people play it. And it caused a lot of problems because you couldn't even play certain games offline because there was no availability online, which once again opens up the issue of, do you even really own your games? Or are they just simply giving you permission? And that now that we've become so interconnected through online features and through all of this drama, I mean, how can we get ourselves separate from it? I'm going to bring up an article and allow you guys to stew on
Well,
that.
I can tell you right off that if you delve into and you actually read those end user license agreements for your software, they basically tell you a couple things. One thing is that no, you don't own the software. You have a license to use it, and that's it. And the other thing that they tell you in the software agreement is that basically the software that you've bought doesn't do anything. And the reason that they say that is so that if it doesn't perform up to what you think it should, they basically have an out that says, well, we never said it would do that.
You know what was fun? Krispy Kreme was offering free donuts while you waited for PlayStation Network to come back on.
Yes, that was amazing.
Which was
That's
a good
hilarious.
idea. That was a clever idea. Everybody seems to forget that as connected as we are, all of this could be taken away from you. All it does is take the network to go down, and suddenly you can't play certain things that you've paid for. And I'm not just talking the online features and how demanding our
Right.
world is to interconnectivity and getting onto the internet and whatnot, and the fact that it can shut things down simply because an outage with the network should make you question sort of the relationship you have with these gaming companies. I could buy a single player game and not be able to play it because I can't connect to the internet.
Which
What does
doesn't
that
make any
say?
sense.
Well, what does that say about how much rights you have as a consumer, or how much control you have over the things you purchase? Which sounds like it's not very much.
Nope.
And yeah, there was a lot of anger, and most of the anger is I can't play Call of Duty right now. I should get a free 6-month subscription to PlayStation Network. That's not going to happen.
Of course.
That's not going to happen. No
Of
one's going to
course.
give you free stuff, let alone a day. Do you know what I got when they leaked everybody's personal information for PlayStation back in the PS3 era? They gave away some free
I
games.
remember you talking about it,
Yeah.
but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I got Infamous
Oh,
because
yeah.
they leaked my information. And that has been the sort of trending story the past day or so. Yeah, think about it, people. What is your relationship to these companies?
I totally... I understand why people are upset. And one of the things that I definitely, my take on this is if your single player game that doesn't need a network connection is going down, then the video game companies are screwing around and they need to knock it off. If your multiplayer game you can't play because the network is down, well, the network is down, it's to be expected. But these people that are whining about, oh, the network is down, I couldn't do X, Y, or Z. Dude, go do something else. Wait for it to come back up. You've got more than just video games to do.
Well, I understand. I
So
understand that
I don't
argument.
really have...
I understand the touch grass argument, but also I paid for this, and some people they work and they only have so much time in the afternoon and they
That's
like
true.
to relax. So I understand if you've paid money for this, you should have an expectation of service. And the fact that you can't even play some games single player because the thing is shut down is, I mean, outages happen. It would be nice to have an explanation where, as of this podcast, we have no answer as to what happened.
Right, and I'm not necessarily saying touch grass. What I'm saying is, with a network outage, it is it's expected that your multiplayer game is going to go down. What's not expected, and this is the part where I find that I'm siding with the players, is that my single player experience shouldn't be affected by a network outage. That is something that they need to fix, and they need to fix it now. We shouldn't have a network outage that affects a single player game. But if people are just sitting there whining that they can't play, Call of Duty, it's like, well, go do something else, man. Just wait for it to come back up. It'll come back up. They're not going to leave it down forever.
Well, shouldn't be.
I just don't get the...
And is. And the reason why some games don't work is because they want to make sure you own the licensing to the... some people claim that they could actually get back online later on if they reset the licensing code for the PlayStation. You had to go in and change a setting or something like that.
Interesting.
Which makes me think it's related to that sort of thing. But this is the claim on the internet. Who knows?
I mean, the fact that we don't have an explanation for this is suspicious. I would have expected them to come out right away as soon as this happened and said, "Oh, we're really sorry. We're working on it. It's this." But the fact that they've been silent about it and they're done and the outage is fixed and you can get back online and they still haven't said anything, that is pretty suspicious.
Silver, was Godzilla Brother non-functional for 24 hours?
I didn't hear his reaction until really earlier today.
It was bullcrap.
He's mainly on Steam now, so so he didn't have much of a reaction.
Wow, he's
Surprisingly.
evolved. Well, I've always been for consumer rights and the fact that you own what you have. As somebody who has a lot of consoles, has collected a lot of games, it's annoying and upsetting that we exist in a world where this sort of thing happens. Because think about it. We haven't got to the point where we've reached a future where some of these games that require a lot of updates and whatnot will no longer be able to, like, let's say I have a PlayStation 3 game and the console still updates. You could, shockingly, not that long ago, a new update for PlayStation 3 hit and I could get the update in and everything. And the games can still be updated, bugs can be fixed and whatnot. What if it gets to the point where they're no longer updating this stuff? And I have a game I own, I put it in and it doesn't work. The game just doesn't work anymore. And this creates a world where sort of stuff not just stuff you purchase for the consumer rights aspect, but just the idea of your ability to preserve games over time and go back and play them could not function based upon whether or not you have an internet access or their servers still exist. And this stuff will simply cease to function.
Not just... Well, I'm sure that there are some games out there that you can't play anymore. Because, well, the company went out of business or whatever, and so the servers
can't
that
be
they
played.
used to maintain to run those games are down.
Concord can't be played. It ain't that old because they just tore it down.
Yeah, well, that one was taken down for a different reason.
Well, that's my point.
But yeah,
we could exist in a world where you no longer have access to things you purchased because of various reasons, and I don't like it. I still can turn on my Nintendo and play Mario. Will I be able to do that with a game on a PlayStation or Xbox console in the future? I don't know. Is that a guarantee?
I would say that there is a good chance that there are some games that you currently own that you can no longer play. They're probably, lesser known games.
I don't think I own anything that I simply can't play. I do own stuff that I can't play online, and there are some games that are online dominant, but they still have the ability to sort of play in some respect, even if the servers are down, like with bots or something. I think the only one that's probably the most shut down and most unplayable is maybe Chrome Hounds. It's like I could also think of Brink, but Brink you could play with bots, and that was an online multiplayer game on the PlayStation, I believe. But I'm just not talking about online features. I'm talking about no longer access to servers, the inability to connect with things, and whether or not the game requires reconnecting through some sort of weird abstract DRM that simply can't function because there's no internet access. Imagine living in the middle of nowhere and not having internet access. Just the stuff you can't do.
Yeah.
Anyways, to think about it, this belies a greater problem with modern gaming where stuff goes down and suddenly nothing functions. Because that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. Unrelated, but I thought I'd attach it to this, is...
I just looked up some games that you can't play anymore. And Fable 3, it says, is a game for Windows Live that some say was exciting for the future of the series, but apparently you can't play it anymore.
Well,
Scott Pilgrim
attached to
versus
the Windows
World
Live
is
feature.
released for PlayStation 3 that is no longer available after 2014 due to Nintendo shutting down its online servers.
Well, Jason, if we're going to go to no longer available because of licensing, that's hundreds of games. Thousands, I don't know.
Yeah. But the thing is that those ones aren't necessarily you can't play. You can't buy them anymore. If you still have them, you can play them. But I was curious to find out if there were games that have been completely shut down, and I don't know if you can play Scott Pilgrim on the PlayStation 3 anymore.
If you have it downloaded,
Nintendo in 2014 shut down the servers.
No, if you have it downloaded, which I do.
So okay, that one doesn't count.
No, but it's not that different from they no longer make this game and you can't get it. You just need to make sure you preserve your copy and make sure it's downloaded.
Mm-hmm.
There are quite a few games that a lot of people don't have access to just because they didn't download it and the servers went down. That's not my point. My point is,
right.
You can't even play it.
But
because
right.
access.
No, I get that. I was just curious as to find out if that one was that was one of the first ones that came up, and that one doesn't really fit because if you downloaded it, you can still play it. But I was wondering about games that, for whatever reason, it requires you to log into a server, and that server shut down, and so your game won't work anymore.
I mean, Diablo 3 had this kind of in the early stages, but the problem is everybody hated it, and after extensive research, they found that most people played single player anyway, so they shut off the required online.
Interesting.
But it was required online. You had to be online. SimCity, the last SimCity had that problem, and it sucked, where you kind of had to be online all of the time to be able to play it, because there was some sort of expectation that you would interact with other cities through trade and what have you, and it's like, But they eventually eliminated that. See, here's the dirty little secret when it comes to stuff. People like the ability to go online, and that's the one thing that brings these studios money more than anything else, the live service stuff, which I'll remind you, we're going to have a conversation about this with another company. This is really beneficial to these companies. However, the vast majority of people play these games alone. Even if you're a big online guy, most of the time you play is alone. Like 70% of the time. It's like if given the option, you tend to be by yourself. Which belies we make most of our money from online stuff, but most people don't play that. Moving on, PlayStation California offices have had mass firings. And they have a new Japanese CEO instead of California CEO. I'm not saying this is related, but Sony's going through a transition, and this happened a day or so ago. But there were industry-wide... To read this, the industry-wide layoffs show no signs of stopping as Sony Interactive Entertainment quietly fires an undisclosed number of PlayStation employees. According to former senior design technologist Oscar Diaz, one of the affected workers, most of my team was laid off from PlayStation. It's a dream to get to know Sony. I grew up with a PlayStation, yada, yada, yada. I mean, they did have a game come out that cost exorbitant amounts of money and was developed over like 8 years of time that ended up being so abysmally bad they had to pull it from the store and to eat that loss of like $200 million.
Yikes.
Companies act like, oh, well, it's fine. These things affect these companies in the long term. You can't get away from it.
Yes, they do.
In the secondary lead to this, so I have to preface this as a non-political podcast, virulently, deliberately, intentionally not trying to be political because people are inundated with this with a daily basis. However, politics will cross over with what we're doing, especially when it invades our spaces with its drama and its garbage. You like what?
What's that quote about? I keep trying to get out and they keep dragging me back in.
I do keep trying to get out. I don't know. What am I saying, Jay? What am I saying? There's been a lot of drama with politics lately. I'm trying to get to this. So there have been some drama because they had this big issue with USAID, which is a big government organization that dispenses a lot of money. Right. I'm not going to get into the weeds. However, there was a bunch of rumor surrounding it related to the gaming world and what was going on.
Really?
Yes. It can be said that USAID had its fingers in a lot of cookie jars. In particular, USAID was like the third largest donator to the BBC, which accounted for 8% of their revenue, which had a lot of people questioning why the US government was donating to the BBC. And the BBC now is putting out statements that they're struggling and that they have a temporary halt in payments and that they're going to figure it out. And it's like, why are we giving them money? Regardless.
Yeah.
A lot of speculation hit the internet that USAID was involved with paying large media organizations to suppress and smear gamers over the Gamergate fiasco. Grums, who I normally like.
Well, when you find out that they were funding the BBC,
well,
it's very hard for them to say something like, no, we weren't doing that.
Well, Jason, they were funding Politico, the news organization. They had money going into a bunch of different groups.
See, that's what I'm saying. If it had come out that they're like, USAID was doing this and they hadn't been contributing to any of these things, they could have said, no, we weren't. But they can still say, no, we weren't doing that. But because we can say, well, you were contributing to Politico, you were contributing to the BBC.
Hold on, Jason.
It's very hard for you to actually
hold on. You're way behind on the USAID information. This isn't, they're claiming they didn't do this. They went into their books and found out because they fired most of the staff. Some 10,000 employees at USAID no longer have jobs because it was a graft organization for the U.S. government. This isn't, they can claim they weren't doing this. They were doing this. That we found out because they basically kicked the doors in and stole their books. So we know where this money was going. They were forking out money for I think it was like a gay comic book in Peru. They were forking out money to
Oh,
make
yeah.
some sort of
I remember
LGBTQ musical in Brazil. Like it is across the board. The government's hand is in everything. This is completely aside what we're trying to get at. My point is, despite the fact that they have a lot of fingers in a lot of different cookie jars, propping up what is perhaps politically things that align with the current regime or left-wing politics, they were forking out huge amounts of cash to left-wing news organizations, places like the BBC and Politico. Grums is drawing a parallel to the money that they're giving to Politico, to the fact that Politico was forking out huge amounts of money or spending huge amounts of time talking about Gamergate and pointing the finger at people in the Gamergate community. Here's my problem with Grum's statement. I don't see a parallel between the money given to US to Politico and them deliberately doing, like you could say, and I think there is some evidence to say that they were giving money out to some organizations to battle like misinformation. But that doesn't say that the US government was deliberately saying, you need to go after this Gamergate scandal. And that's the difference. They have aligned politics between these two organizations, and they were giving them money. That doesn't mean the government was paying them to issue stories about Gamergate. That's a leap of logic that doesn't hold fact unless we have more information. And he is claiming that it's like, oh, the government was playing to have Gamergate smeared. We don't know that. There's no evidence to suggest this whatsoever. We know they were giving money to Politico, who was going after Gamergate, but we don't know that they were giving it to them for them to do that.
Specifically for that.
Correct. And that's my problem is people seem to want to attach to this USAID story more conspiracy to imply that they were trying to go after the gaming community and they had their fingers in a bunch of different cookie jars. Case in point, it hit the internet with this other huge conspiracy that USAID was not only sending money to Feminist Frequency, but also some of their money was going towards Sweet Baby Inc. And based upon the evidence that was presented, now people are treating this like it's fact, and I'm trying to address this straight. That's probably not true. It would be funny if it was. It's probably not true. Niche Gamer does a really good job of breaking down that this isn't accurate. Now, one of the evidence that they point at was Sweet Baby Inc. getting money from USAID is they were able to pull open a USA spending information to point at they had received hundreds of thousands of dollars, and to point at the spending indicators as seen on this website from usaspending.gov. Here's the problem. This is not actually evidence that Sweet Baby Inc. was receiving money from USAID. You want to know why? One, this is not a grant of money. This is a loan. Two, this Sweet Baby Inc. Incorporated is not the same company as the Sweet Baby Inc. that is infecting gaming. The Sweet Baby Inc. that we talk about that's involved with gaming on the internet exists in Canada. This is a Los Angeles-based company. I can't remember what they do, but it has nothing to do with what we think it is. Case in point, people wanted this story to be true. They wanted to believe that the government was funding the downfall of gaming, and it's just not the case. At least with this. No, they weren't funding Feminist Frequency. I think the best that they could say was there was $6 that was public money sent as a donation to Feminist Frequency. And no, there
I
isn't
mean,
evidence
it's bad
that
enough what they
USAID
were doing with the money.
Correct. But the internet is
That they could
abuzz,
prove.
claiming that Feminist Frequency earned $200-something thousand from USAID because left-wing people in the government are filtering money to these organizations to take down the chuds or whatever. It doesn't seem to be true. The evidence that they use to point out that they're giving money to Sweet Baby Inc. is not accurate. This is not the same company. The company that Sweet Baby Inc. is Canada-based. This is Los Angeles-based. And this isn't a grant. This is a loan. So this evidence doesn't hold up.
Well, I mean, they're still giving the money regardless of the shape it is, but it's not the same company. So,
Correct.
yes, it is a loan,
And
so they have to pay it back.
This isn't USAID money. This is completely separate.
Right.
This is some government like loan expect to be paid back or whatever. And which is why I had that issue with Grum's article where he's like, USAID paid Politico to have Gamergate speared. No, they did pay Politico. I don't see any evidence that they did it deliberately to have Gamergate smeared unless there's information I don't have. So weirdly enough, this story I'm bringing up to discuss is a non-story. The internet was abuzz claiming that with all of the drama with USAID and the ridiculous stuff that they're paying across the world, this stuff related to gaming is not true. This is not a story. We are mostly jumping to conclusions and it's mostly conjecture.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that if they didn't approve of what Politico was doing, they wouldn't have given them money. So there's at least a tacit approval there that they approve, that they
right, but they're
knew what
giving
was going
money
on and
they're giving money to an organization that aligns with them politically.
Yes.
And a left-wing organization is going to be on the
like
other side of Gamergate. So it's not like they're saying,
right. But
well, the implication is they're giving them this money to go after people at Gamergate. That's not true. They're just giving an organization that aligns with them politically, who happens to go after Gamergate.
We want it to be true. We want there to be a boogeyman here that's like, well, the only reason that they were going after us is because the government was behind it. When it was just like, well, the government was just paying these people because they aligned with them, like you said, they aligned with them politically, and they went after you as part of their own recognizance, if you will. Now, they probably wouldn't have been able to do it if the government hadn't been, funding them. They may have gone under before any of this happened, but we wouldn't know that.
Look, we're not a news organization. I would like to believe that I'm going to be as honest as I can with pointing out the information that we have in. When a game I don't like does well, I'll be like, hey, this game is doing well. Still don't like it. Even if there's news that's contrary to what I might like to think, I don't like Politico, nor do I like Sweet Baby Inc. or Feminist Frequency. It would be really funny if there was a conspiracy at the highest forms of government that created Feminist Frequency to go after the gaming community because they thought that we were a threat. That would be really funny. It's not true. At least
that would be hilarious.
Not in this regard. The evidence doesn't seem to hold water, is my point. There's enough conspiracy among journalists to try and suppress gamers.
Yeah, gamers just want to be left alone to play their games. They're not there, trying to take down the government or anything like that. All they're interested in is when is Sony going to fix PlayStation Network so I can get back to my Call of Duty.
Correct.
That's what they're there for. And so the government sending out these agencies with instructions to take them down just doesn't make any sense.
It could happen, maybe there is evidence that they are doing these sorts of sketchy things. We don't have that information.
Maybe.
And we don't have that evidence. So at the moment, I would prefer that people not jump to conclusions and try and bring up a bunch of false information because they desperately want it to be a conspiracy at the highest forms of government that they're trying to suppress gamers who are unhappy with what's going on. Guess what? Gamergate was about a conspiracy, but it wasn't a government conspiracy. It was
Very
among
much so.
journalists conspiring with these large corporations to try and basically screw over like ratings and try and falsify it. Like it has a lot more to do with bad journalism than it had to do with the government involved with anything. It had a lot more to do with these companies deliberately trying to insert politics in Gamergate 2.0, Sweet Baby Inc. Insert politics deliberately as a consultation organization into your games, into your media, on purpose. Does that require the government investing money in them? No. And guess what? Through USAID, we found out some funny things that the government was funding some games. That was funny. The games were not necessarily politically in nature, though. They spent a bunch of money to create a mobile app game for some country about prenatal care or something.
About what?
Prenatal care.
Oh, that's
And
weird.
Pregnancy.
Because we
for-
need a game about that.
Well, I guess the idea is they don't have enough education in their third world country to have this information to take care of their kids. So why are we funding it? But, you know, beside the point, they
There
did do
is
a lot of
that,
sketchy
But
stuff.
there's also, if they're a third world country, do they really have the ability to play apps and stuff like that?
I don't know, Jason. My point being, they did a lot of sketchy stuff. In this case, they didn't. I know this seems like a weird thing to bring up, but this is a non-news story. This is a bunch of people are trying to turn this into a thing, and as far as I could tell, it's not a thing. Awesome. Thoughts before we move on the non-story of USAID. Silver, you're quiet, like usual.
Sorry, I got a cat here. I'm having a great time.
I can't go to work because there's a cat on my lap.
I can't go. I got a cat. Oh, little guy. Yeah. Just chaos. My gosh. This is the first time I'm hearing about it, because of course it is.
She lives in a bubble.
I'm learning with y'all. And the cat. My cat.
Pay attention, cat. There's going to be a test.
Get ready, cat.
I think that at some level, especially with any conspiracy theory, that the people who propagate that conspiracy theory, one, they want it to be true. They need it to be true, because if it is true, then it explains some of the stuff in their life that is not under their control. It's like, because there's this shadowy agency that is manipulating things and all that stuff. And so I think that there's this, that, people who are in the, they're in these and they're propagating them, that they need it to be true. And so they keep propping it up, even though you can continually poke holes in it. Most of the time with conspiracy theories, my immediate reaction is, who does this benefit? And if the answer to that isn't immediately and abundantly clear, I usually write it off, because it's like, the government is run by lizard people. It's like, well,
It's true.
Who does that benefit?
Yeah, that one's real, Jason.
Really, nobody.
Me.
I know. And our overlords will thank me for trying to debunk it.
Look, if you zoom in
But
on Obama when he was giving that speech, he has two sets of of eyes, and it blinks one way and then it blinks sideways. You can't tell me that's not real.
Oh
That
yeah, the eyelids.
That
Yes.
he
Eyelid.
used to eat flies when nobody was looking in the White House.
Some
But
conspiracies
at
are
the
real.
same time, some of that is, it would just be so funny if it was true.
I would like it to be true.
At the same time, you know what I mean?
I would like it to be true. It's not true. And sometimes we get caught up in stuff because of weird bias. We just think it's exciting and we want to do it. Grums is wrong unless he can present information otherwise. And all of the information he presents is just articles from Politico going after Gamergate. And it's like, yeah, Politico had an agenda. That doesn't even mean that they were taking marching orders from the government. Completely beside the point. And I think you're jumping to conclusions.
We need something from the White House that was signed, by the administration that's like, yes, we want Politico to do this. That would
anyway, I still tend to
that
like
would start it off in the right direction.
Right, some sort of memo or something. Go get those Gamergate people.
Yeah.
I still generally
But to be honest,
like Grums, but I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong.
well, I think the other thing is that one, gamers are not that important. And if we are the subject of a conspiracy, then we are important. We're important enough that the government decided to pay to have us destroyed.
Well, Jason, I would push back on that a little bit. We may not be important, but they are afraid of places they're allowed to discuss things and have their own communities because they believe that we're conspiring. There are stories of the government infiltrating gaming organizations because they think they're far right, like hotbeds of people getting together to try and conspire to overthrow the government. People tried to relate gaming to January 6th. We're not that important.
Yeah.
They like to think we are, though.
I think both sides would like to think we are that important. We would like to think that, and the government would like to think that.
It can be argued. It can be argued that Gamergate was the first step in pushing back against a vast sort of left-wing narrative that was going across the country at the time. Because
the
left wing had sort of become this new onset of politics and political correctness and stuff. And Gamergate was the first effort to be like, nah, I don't like this. And it was just a bunch of white guys hanging out at home. Well, not just white guys, but you know what I mean? Just a bunch of men hanging out at home going like, this is bullcrap. Like, I don't want your politics and I don't want your conspiracy where you're canoodling with each other to get money and stuff. Everybody forgets the Kanan Lynch story where they were accepting huge amounts of money and then giving them good reviews. Corruption in gaming media was a thing. It was a problem. And pushing back against that also created this sort of culture of pushing back against the popular culture in this country. It was considered to be a counterculture movement to push back against the left wing of this country that was in charge. People forget for 8 years and then 4? Like, we were dominated by left wing politics for quite some time. And it was counterculture. It was the cool counterculture to push back against that.
It's just so weird.
I saw a story recently where people are suggesting it's like, well, there's a new right wing woke with people going after anybody for any politics and anything. And I was like, I mean, that's possible, but I don't think we're there yet. Until it becomes extreme in the other end, I wouldn't be super worried about it. Let's not dwell super often. Before we get into the news dump, we've had a few big trailers released. First of all, we've had Jurassic Park. Did everybody do their homework?
Yep.
No.
Silver, you suck.
Well, remember,
I told you I'm behind.
We had time for Silver's Corner. and her nonsensical story about a superhero. You're not going to get grade with that. What are you talking about?
I'm gonna get a great grade.
By the way, everybody, is a new trailer, Jurassic Park. I'm going to be honest. Jurassic Park sucks right now.
Yeah.
Of the new Jurassic World movies, I liked 1, 2, and 3 were abortions. Just horrific movies. Hated 2, hated 3. Bad films. They've ruined the universe. How am I supposed to get into dinosaurs when they're all over the world? It's like, so? Not interested. Don't think it looks good. Don't care. Jason?
Yeah, I watched it and I'm like, nah. It would make more sense if they switched the roles, but whatever.
Good luck.
But yeah, nothing in the
into-
trailer was grabbing me and saying, you got to go see this movie. I'm like, no.
In another turn of events, we have our first trailer for the Fantastic Four. I don't trust Marvel. They've ruined their past how many movies? Like they have
Seriously.
been, I'm not interested in anything Marvel has made since like Endgame. Well, maybe one movie after Endgame, the Spider-Man. But
Yeah.
pretty much they've all been terrible. Terrible films. They don't deserve my trust. They don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. That being said, it looks pretty good. I like the aesthetic.
Have you seen?
I like the setting.
Have you seen those trailers that?
Go ahead.
Have you seen those trailers that people have been posting on YouTube where they reimagine a movie and they what is it? They basically create an AI trailer, and they use like an old kind of pulp style to it. Have you seen those?
No, but the internet's full of fake trailers, so.
Well, right. No, what I was saying, this trailer reminded me of those.
Yeah, I mean, I like the setting, sort of the 1960s sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
Here's what everybody forgets about the Fantastic Four. So if you're not into comic books, you might not be aware. They were the most popular Marvel comic book or most popular comic book in the world at one point. The Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four saved Marvel Comics. They were, it was like, if you think of The Incredibles and how big that movie was, The Incredibles is more of based off of a Fantastic Four sort of thing. They called them the first family of Marvel. They were a huge seller. They were a dominant part of it. It is like a family thing of doing high science. It had a little bit of a Johnny Quest sort of feel to it and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four was a huge comic book. They haven't done them right yet. And we've had a few movies for the Fantastic Four. I think it looks good. There were the two. There was a really old Roger Corman one.
Oh, that's right. That never saw the light of day.
Yeah. It's funny to hear people get interviewed about that movie because they thought they were making a legitimate movie and instead it was really just a crap movie to keep the licensing. Regardless.
To keep the rights.
Yeah. Regardless, it
Panavision.
looks good.
Super Panavision's what it's called.
Sure. It looks good. I like the setting, the actors and stuff. Here's my problems. The female Silver Surfer, still not on board. Not a huge fan of
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal. I think he's kind of a douche. That being said, he is a good actor and he is capable of doing a good job. So even if I don't like him, he could present a fairly good movie. Doesn't mean I still give them the benefit of the doubt, but so far, if I were to look at the superhero related stuff coming down the line, and I'm going to base it off of basically just what I've seen with his trailers, I think Fantastic Four looks like it's probably going to be better than Superman. Nothing? No reaction to that?
It could be. I gotta say, with Superman, I don't know that I have any hope for that being a decent movie in any way, shape, or form.
Sure. But I don't know. What do you think? Fantastic Four? The trailer. Am I in a podcast alone?
The trailer, like I said, it looked good. I like the aesthetic that they're seeming to set it in kind of that, like you said, that 1960s era. I do like some of the visuals that they've had, but the last time they tried to do Galactus, at least they got the Silver Surfer right.
You mean the giant fart cloud?
But not much else. Yeah.
Flipping the Thing looks really good, and I like the classic outfits.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to see. Once again, it's a hesitant. We'll wait and see. As resident nerds, we are super fans of the comic books in general.
If this was right after Endgame, Endgame just got over, and then they're releasing a trailer for the new Fantastic Four movie, I would have been all over that. I've been like, yeah, let's go, because we were on such a high from the end of Endgame.
They could do no wrong.
But then after the failure of the Marvels, Echo, how many other, the She-Hulk,
Ant-Man,
Thor, Love and
Quantumania,
Thunder, Ant-Man, Quantumania.
What a terrible
I just
movie.
have no.
Doctor
I have
Strange?
no confidence whatsoever that we will get a good movie out of this.
No, not Doctor Strange.
The Marvels.
Yeah, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, it keeps going, doesn't it?
It does keep going.
We should make a Marvel movie, the bad Marvel movie tier list. That'd be great.
This one is super S ranked because it's so awful.
Yeah, S ranked is the worst.
They've hit
F
peak
tier is the
bad.
best.
They've hit peak horrible.
That's a great idea. We should do that.
It's a good sign. Yes. So we'll see. Silver has nothing to say because she doesn't do her homework.
Nope.
I remember when I used to be excited about films.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
those days.
Supposed to
I
everything.
actually drove past a movie theater today, and just thought, basically, what are these places going to do? Seeing as how viewing numbers, people going to the theater are probably super low right now. And if we don't get some good movies to draw people back to the theater, we're going to have these places going out of business. And I can't imagine that Hollywood studios and stuff are necessarily going to keep up with the releasing these to theaters when they can make their money back quicker by releasing it on streaming.
Well, it's not just the theater paradigm is no longer like as big as it used to be because streaming and watching stuff at home is a lot more convenient, a lot easier for people to do. It doesn't help that the movies they've been coming out with have been just trash, which isn't bringing people to theaters. So now you have streaming is on its way, and you're producing the just utter garbage, which is contributing to the downfall of theaters. Theaters won't go away, but I expect there'll be a lot less of a thing in the coming years.
Well, it's interesting, that when motion pictures first started, the only way to see a motion picture was to go to a theater. And it was that way for years. And people got their news that way. You'd go into a movie theater and you'd sit down in the theater and you'd watch the movie from whenever. So you might come in the middle of the movie and watch to the end, and they'd immediately put it back on, and then you'd watch the beginning and you'd leave. And it was these big experiences with vast audiences and stuff. I can't remember the last time I went to a movie theater that was packed. I think the last time we went was like one of those times when we went down to Salt Lake for that one guy that used to do the webcomic.
No, we went and saw.
I think that might have been the last time.
No, we went and saw Captain America.
Oh wait,
and that was
we went
packed.
to like Endgame and stuff. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, those were packed. But you and I went to see the Lord of the Rings anime that they just did, and that was definitely not packed.
That movie's not only performed poorly, but is really bad. By the way, if you're curious about what our extensive 3-hour review of Warrior Ride of the Rohirrim or whatever, it does exist on this channel. We talked a lot.
But, with the advent of the television and video rentals and now streaming, the numbers of people going to movie theaters has just plummeted.
I mean, I agree, but this wouldn't
drive-ins used to be a thing.
This death wouldn't be ushered in as fast if Hollywood hasn't crapped its pants and then refused to remove the turd.
You're totally right there.
They've been turtling for a while now, and it's awful. It's not simply, look, this is an inevitable evolution of everybody moving away from theaters and watching it at home. Through the advent of televisions and be able to buy DVDs, VHS and DVDs and whatnot. That being said, they killed this far faster than they have to by starving the movie theaters. We had COVID, we had the writer's strike, we had the actor strike, and in the meantime, we had the extensive world of politics infect its way through all of media, not just movies, video games, music, comic books, everything. Yeah. And in that process, audiences pulled away, and that has been the ushering of the death of theaters. Everybody seems to, it's just the home box office stuff. People are, no. If you haven't been producing pieces of trash, this would be different. Marvel was so big, they were propping up the theaters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We wanted to go to the theaters. We wanted to see these movies in the theaters. And there still is for a good movie, for a movie that is just dynamite, just blockbuster. I still like having that giant screen to go see a movie on. I don't have that same experience at home. But I can't say that I want to go to a movie and feel like I've just wasted a couple of hours and like $20 to go see a piece of trash movie when I could just wait for it to come out on streaming and watch it at home.
Well, the social activity of going to the theater with friends is fun.
Yes.
But yeah, besides that, I agree. Everything sucks. And it's all really stupid. Let's not linger too long. We have new trailers. Trailer looks good. Doesn't mean the movie looks good. I don't care about the other trailer, and it's probably a bad movie. I hate Jurassic Park now. You guys could suck it. Whatever her name is, actress, Black Widow is not going to save that film. Scarlett Johansson.
Nope.
Man, if they ruin cinema so badly, everything sucks now. All right.
Sad.
It's super sad. News up.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big steaming pile of news dump.
Yeah, it's the news dump. Lots of those to go through. Unlike the other segments where we're going to sit and discuss things to extents, this is where we go through a lot of news really quickly. That's the news dump. Hey, is anybody shocked by the fact that there's new drama and controversy surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows? A game that is expected to die a horrific death in the coming month or so when it comes out. New controversy arises through a few things. I don't know if they address it in this article specifically, but a few things have opened up. In some of the promotional stuff, one of the characters seems to be explicitly non-binary, depending on the language that they use. In ancient Japan, so that's great. There has also been some controversy that Yasuke sort of breaks a shrine, which seems respectful of Japanese culture. And finally, one of my favorites, they don't have it here. So there's a new character that's introduced. A giant, heavy-set woman as like a sumo woman. Now, everybody's saying, well, they're not explicitly calling her a sumo. However, the fact that they call her Rikshi, which is essentially the name that they call sumos when they're wrestling. I'm going to surprise everybody. I'm an amateur sumo fan. I do watch the tournaments when they're on for fun, mostly the compilations. I don't have somebody I'm currently following right now and I'm a big fan of because the people I really liked have either retired or got knocked down the Basho rankings, and because I was really big into Enho, and he was fun for a while till people figured out how to fight him, and he's no longer fun. That being said, as an amateur fan of these things, I know a little bit about sumo. So let me give you some information. Women are strictly forbidden to be sumo wrestlers. Now you're going, no, there are women sumos. No, you can wrestle amateur in school as a sumo wrestler as a woman, but women are strictly forbidden from being sumo wrestlers, to the point where there was a controversy where someone kind of had like a heart attack or a seizure or something and fell in the middle of a ring. And one of the women medics jumped up into the ring with some medical gear to help him. And that caused a huge drama because women aren't even supposed to step into the ring. It's only a space where men are supposed to be. Now, you can like or dislike what you might consider a backwards culture. This is their culture. They could decide what they want to and how they want to do things. And if sumo is an only men's activity, then that's what they want it to be. That's not what I'm addressing. What I am addressing is there would not be a woman sumo in this game during this era.
Nope.
Just like there wasn't a Black Samurai, but that's also beside the point. She would not be a sumo wrestler. It's like they're trying to rewrite a culture's history to make it fit within their current political paradigm, and it's nonsensical and stupid. Women aren't sumo wrestlers. There is
what I always thought was interesting was that all of the referees for sumo come from a particular family.
Yeah.
Which is so odd to me. It's like it's not
well,
even
sumo's
like I
very
could go to
traditional.
Japan and learn how to do
And
how
it
to
has-
be a sumo ref. No, I
Well-
have to be born into that family.
Well, right, but sumo's very traditional, and it has very specific, strict set of rules. One of them being women can't be sumo. So when a sumo wrestler, so to speak, woman shows up in the game, there are some questions. And guess what? Japanese YouTube has been lambasting this game like crazy. They think it's disrespectful, and every time they come out with something that seems to be controversial or anti their culture, they are not okay with it. So yes, controversy surrounds it. I wonder if there's a new set of controversy. I did read this article, but I can't remember. Many believe, however, Yasuke has been decided a special case, blah, blah, blah. See, fans of the series are pointing out Assassin's Creed series doesn't deliberately target demographics of people. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think it's him destroying the shrine. Is he just killing priests and stuff? Like sacred priests? Yeah, he's just going in and breaking things. I mean, look, you might think it's dumb, it's just objects and stuff. These places are considered sacred to their culture. You know who did a good job of respecting the culture in the game that they made? Ghost of Tsushima. Perhaps not with the next one. But with Ghost of Tsushima,
I'm scared for that.
they did a great job in respecting the game or respecting the culture. This is not respecting Japanese culture. I'm not a huge fan, but it looks like we might be having a Buffy the Vampire return on Hulu. As people
They
who are
should just
Buffy
leave
the
that
Vampire
alone.
fans, they may or may not be happy with this. If you recall, this is a Joss Whedon project who made Buffy the Vampire back in the day. He is now considered persona non grata and is in director jail because the speculation was they would never return to Buffy the Vampire Slayer because Joss Whedon had to be a part of the project, and there's no way they're going to let him in the building, let alone participate in it. Moving on. It looks like BioWare is now below 100 employees after layoffs.
Oh wow.
I think it's half of their studio has been purged. Pretty much all writers that were attached to Dragon Age no longer work for the company. Which belies
That's
sort
what
of a
happens
greater
when you-
point,
when
which I
you-
thought about making a video about this, sort of talking about this drama. Wherever your politics seem to lie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you were really into the politics of this game. That's more than fine. People didn't seem to resonate, and they rejected the game wholeheartedly because it was very politically angled. But you might agree with it. The point being that the assumption that so in this last age of the great woke, we had a lot of companies across the world sort of weigh in on politics. Companies had to bow the knee and recognize Black Lives Matter, or companies like Skittles had to come with LGBTQ Skittles, which was funny because they were like, the new Pride Skittles is eliminating all colors because we're the same. And then they just became white Skittles, and everyone was like, oh, these white Pride Skittles or what?
Oh my God.
It was really funny. But
All Skittles needed to do was slap a pride flag on their wrapper and say, "Here you go, Pride Skittles."
But every company bowed their heads.
Nothing else.
And there were some videos from one of the writers of Dragon Age, who basically, after being laid off, I think before being laid off or whatever, she was talking about how she feels like BioWare no longer has her back. and that they didn't ever really care. And you know what the funny part of this
Of course
is?
they didn't.
These companies don't care. They're just posturing.
No.
They're just pretending to care. That's what's so stupid about all of this. When these companies weigh in on politics during this great period of time recently, the assumption was that they have turned a new leaf and they're trying to reinforce the new paradigm of political correctness. The problem is it was always going to be cynical. They thought it would benefit them financially to get a lot of attention because it was the new hot trend. They never cared. All of these companies now that DEI is on the outs have been abandoning it. And you should ask yourself, did they actually give a damn? Or did they truly care about diversity, equity, inclusion? And the answer is no. They never cared. Why are anyone surprised that now that everybody's abandoning this political world that we've been moving into, that they're like, oh my God, I can't believe Skittles doesn't really care about politics anymore. They never cared about politics. They were pandering and they wanted your money and you played into it because you thought this world now is everybody's moving in the political direction that I agree with. That's not true. And BioWare never cared. You know what they care about? Earning money. And guess what they're not doing? Earning money. Because guess what? The politics was not popular. It sucked balls. And this is the word we have now. This is our world where we've got games that nobody likes and the politics is horrible and you're shocked when these companies start to abandon it. They're trying to earn money and it was pandering the whole time.
See, there's a really easy way to tell if a company is pandering or not. What you do is you think, what would happen if this particular trend was unpopular? Would this company support it? If the answer is no, they're pandering. Now, if the company is supporting the trend regardless of and I shouldn't say trend, if the company is supporting a cause regardless of whether it is trending or not, then the company cares about that thing. But that's how you tell if a company is pandering or not. Is this a hot commodity and the company is supporting it? Then it's probably pandering. If it's not a hot commodity and the company is still supporting it, they believe in it.
It's true. We have the Super Bowl coming up. There was this thing that was written in the end zones for the longest time since the Black Lives Matter movement that said end racism at the end of the end zones. They've removed that.
Uh-huh. Nice.
Now that the political winds have shifted, they no longer have that in the end zone. Hey, everybody, they never cared. They never cared.
Nope.
What?
No. Yeah, we should become a football podcast to talk about all the foosballs.
Oh, heck yeah.
Y'all excited for the Super Bowls?
Nope.
Well, not to be cliche, I know this is a nerdy podcast. I played football in school. I liked playing it. I've never been a big sports watcher. Sumo's easy to watch because it's fast and it takes me like 20 minutes. So I've never been a big sports guy or sports watcher. It's fun to go to live games. It was always fun to play. But other than that, here's my problem. It's hard for me to invest in a team when, so like let's say I have a local team in my state. The local team in my state, one, most of the players aren't from here, so it's hard for me to go, yay, my state, that's composed of people who aren't from my state. And two, most of the players are there based upon how much they're paid. So most of the time, the teams that win seem to be the best paid teams who have the biggest budgets because they can afford the best players.
Yep.
So now it's more of a who has the biggest budget, who can afford the best players, so I can cheer for a team as if they're from my state. Like, this would be more interesting. It was composed of just people from the state I live in. Because then it's like literally, it's like, oh yeah, freaking it's our guys up there. But it's not our guys up there. It's whatever our state can afford to pay people around the country. So it's less personable and I care less. It's like, oh, this is whatever. And I don't watch it for the love of the sport.
That would be an interesting... That would make an interesting change to professional sports if you couldn't draw a player from a different state.
Well, it would be dominated by certain states. I don't know that I would go that far. I would,
but they
because you could
just establish residency.
Well, see, the thing is, they already do that. They just move in, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm living here because we play games here."
Right, but they'd have to have established residency in the state for X number of years. It's not just like if I come into your state, I can play because I'm going to buy a house here. No, you'd have to come in, and you'd have to settle before you could even be on the team. You'd have to be here for like 5 years at least.
Right. Well, which would mean that if you're trying to get somebody to move to your state, they basically would be not playing football or baseball or whatever it is for a period of 5 years. So they would have to have been here through their schooling and then get hired. My point being, it'd be so much more interesting. Obviously, it would end up being dominated by states like California or Texas or New York or whatever, but that's fine.
Budgets and
that's super fine.
Population.
Well, it's not just the budget. The budget would mean less. It would be population, the amount of people that were into it. Budget is what dominates these places because then they can hire the best people from around the country. Now you can only pick the best people from your state.
Yeah, but if you have a bigger budget, you have a better training facility, things like that. You're right. It's going to matter less. It is going to matter less.
It will matter less. Ross, who stumbled in like a drunken sailor once
again.
I was proposing my football theory of we should only have football teams that can only the people on the team that can play have to be from the state that they're playing in.
Oh.
Well, my
it's
issue,
gonna be brutal.
Well, my issue with professional sports was always I'm watching a team who's fielding the best people they can play across the country based upon whoever has the biggest budget, and it's a bunch of people that aren't even from there. So it's like, why do I care about this random group of people on this team playing this game? Like,
because go team.
Go sports team. And that was always my problem with professional sports. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Dallas or the Cowboys or whatever. It's like, why? They're mostly not from Texas.
But they represent Texas, brother.
They're the best best people Texas can purchase.
They're the best athletes that this state could buy, by God. Jerry Jones is buying some great athletes.
Hence my problem. So I never got into sports. And honestly, my dad was always obsessed with watching football, which might be also another reason why I had no interest in watching football. It was funny. He would always have the like, oh, well, you know, the Super Bowl's on. And then he would ask me about it. I was like, I'm not watching it. Like, I don't care. And it turned into this thing where nobody in this house watched it except for him. Because no one cares about the Super Bowl. So he would bring it up with me like he's engaging with me, like I give a damn about what's, and it's like he doesn't get. The Super Bowl was a countrywide event that everybody engaged with. I disconnect. Not only did I disconnect from sports generally, but when they got really political, I was like, I'm out. I'm not interested.
Oh yeah, I mean, even my dad, who loves football, I mean, it almost killed it for him. I mean, he just went really hard with college after that, and even then he was like, eh. He always liked pro ball better. He liked some college games, but no.
They've removed. You missed it, but they removed they had spray painted in the end zone "End Racism," and they've now removed that from end zones. So I guess,
oh man, it only took a few years. Good. I mean, you know, we ended it, guys. Good job.
I guess, continue
We did it.
racism.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Way to go.
we've accomplished it. I thought they were like, keep it going. No, you're saying we've ended it.
Yeah, I'm always positive. You know me, Mr. Positive.
all right.
Yeah, we ended it. Although yours is, I could see that too. It'd be funnier.
Promote
Bad,
racism.
but funnier. Just the NFL, openly racist.
With our next element of Dragon Age, with our next element of Dragon Age news, a bunch of controversy hit because EA CEO suggested that Veilguard failed because it didn't have a live service feature. That's why it was a success.
That was it.
Yep.
That's
Which
what
caused
everybody
a lot of
wanted
people
from Dragon
online
Age,
going,
a live service feature.
I don't want to play a live service game for this single player game. You know why it didn't do well? Because it was bad. That's why it didn't do well.
Yeah. It was poor. It was not great. It was not good.
Which had a
bunch of... I always think to the great CRPGs of the past, your Deus Exes, your Magicas, your Baldur's Gates, so on. And the thing I think that really keeps people talking about them and really, really ruminating on them is the live service element. It's been with us for... Oh, wait, no. No, they were just really well-made games that... especially when you're talking games that theoretically should be more PC-oriented, like CRPGs. The modding community keeps those things going, too. How many, small campaigns have people made as mods for these games? But I guess that's a live service, but it's free that people do because they love the game. What an idiot. What an absolute moron.
That's why it failed. The cope. There have been a lot of videos online of people suggesting that BioWare is a dead man walking at the moment. They're practically they are limping their way.
The Ottoman Empire in 1910.
Yes. They're limping their way into trying to get out of Mass Effect. And if that fails, if that stumbles and falls, it's over. It's over for BioWare. Yep. They cannot afford another failure like that. But anyway, former Dragon Age developers are not happy with the CEO's suggestion that that's why it failed, and suggesting that essentially they would quit if they tried to make it a live service game. Well, the game sucked anyway.
Good for them, I guess, but...
So, oh well. Let's shift on in the news. This is an older story I found a while back, but I thought I'd bring it up because I thought it was interesting. Basically, one of the managers, there's a sense of feeling and dread amongst some people that are very in love with the Japanese music scene, that Japanese music is becoming anime music. And I don't think he's wrong.
Yeah, I can, is American music synonymous with blue jeans and hamburgers and hot dogs? Yeah, probably. Oh, well.
Well,
Jordans, Air Jordans, and...
Nobody accesses Japanese music except through anime, is, I guess, the point.
Oh, well, from outside of the country, anyway.
Yeah.
It makes no sense that I would be interested in a pop group from Japan when I can't really understand the lyrics.
Well, that's not remotely
so I wouldn't go
issue.
Searching for it.
That's not remotely an issue because people fall in love with music whether or not they can listen to it.
Go ahead.
I think the biggest problem with Japan is it has struggled for a long time to have their music accessible to other countries. Like some of the biggest songs you could think of for how long were not English speaking necessarily, just popular pop music. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily an obstacle, but Japan has always struggled to get their music accessible to other countries. You know what did this really well? Korea, where they had their songs mixed English and Korean, and they made them very Western friendly. And Korean music is huge overseas. Huge overseas.
Yeah.
Japan is very insular in their music scene.
What I was trying to get at was that I like music, and I do have some Japanese tracks that I listen to and stuff, but I found them through anime. I don't go and actively search for Japanese bands and stuff because like you said, their music is not like Western audience friendly.
Not necessarily, but I have actually
And
searched for
some of that
for Japanese music that's not anime related, and I found stuff I liked that I don't know what they're saying.
Me too.
Lyrics wise. But I would.
Oh yeah, there's a band named Toe that I like quite a bit.
There's a new emergence of like angsty Japanese music that feels very American 90s, and I'm into it. Maybe early 2000-y. Maybe early 2000-y sort of America.
You know what's funny? I'm sitting here thinking about the Japanese music that I know, and it's like I know it through a buddy of mine that I knew when I went to college the very first time when I was 18. He lived across the hall from me. And he knew about it, because it was like metal, like Japanese metal. But it's funny, one of his songs, God, I can't remember the dude's name. I remember the song name. It was called Child Prey. It was, which is a very disturbing song name.
Oh.
It was used for the Baki anime at one point as the intro. But I knew about it not from the anime.
I was really into baby metal
Japanese
for a while.
music.
And they have nothing.
Baby metal is a big one. I'm gonna slaughter this, but Ingen Isu, I think, is what it is. It's like if your grandfather had a heavy metal band. They've got some really good videos on YouTube, and I love listening to them.
I've seen them.
Oh, I know them. Yeah.
Regardless.
But seriously, it's like if your grandfather had a heavy metal band.
Right. Regardless, I'm sympathetic to the feeling that he's distraught that Japanese music is being supplanted as sort of an anime vehicle. And he's not wrong. And I would hope that the Japanese music scene and their culture continues to flourish and maybe exit. Like, it is hard for so many to get into music everywhere. Like, I have American music to pay attention to, which tends to be not even current music for me, let alone paying attention to music in other countries, because it's their country, it's their culture, it's their language. It's like I have touched on and accessed, like, there's a band I really like from Finland, but it's really hard to be super into music everywhere. I would like to be into more Japanese music.
Yeah.
And I understand his concerns. And it is something that I suppose people should be concerned with. But
what I wonder is if maybe they should embrace this a little bit, as in use anime as a vehicle to get their music out to the rest of the world.
I mean, that is what's happening.
The thing is that if one of their tracks gets on an anime show and it becomes very popular, it's not beyond comprehension that people would then maybe look for other music by that same group.
You would hope, but it doesn't seem to be, seeing as how that's what he's talking about. Is it's all just like the big songs are the ones that are in the intros.
There's also kind of a choice of their record companies too, like their record companies not having a more international outlook on getting their music seen and heard,
which is a problem. Yeah, baby metal at least tours internationally. Hyde was having a hard time he really tried to get his music sort of Western accessible. He would do versions of his songs in English. And then he would come here and tour, and he is massive in Japan. He would come here and no one would care. They're like, oh, this is weird Japanese guy who looks like he's 50, but has a lot of makeup on and hair like a 20-year-old.
Yep.
It's true. Silver nose. Moving on, Japanese lawmakers are shocked by massive financial damage caused due to manga piracy. Yeah, piracy is going to be a thing, champ. They're predicting a loss of $6.7 billion dollars, essentially, in 2024 due to pirating. Here's my problem with pirating, which they always refer to this as if this is a loss. Just because people are pirating this amount of manga doesn't mean if they weren't pirating it that they would have purchased your product. I think they're pirating it because they don't have the money. And it might be because they're unwilling to spend the money. But that money doesn't translate into sales because a lot of those people are pirating for lack of funds already. This is not a 1-for-1, is my point.
No. Yeah. Well, and I mean, one of the big things with pirating is, like, some of it's just people being shitty and cheap, but a lot of it's access. I mean, if you don't make something available, like, yeah, people are going to find a way to get it. Whether it's pirating and fan translations and all sorts of stuff, from the outright theft to the love of it and wanting more people to see it. So, make it accessible. And it is. I mean, honestly, manga sales in the US are huge, but I'm sure there's some manga that are pretty hard to find.
Huge in Europe. France is one of the biggest consumers of manga.
God, and they have their own comic industry, too.
Oh, the comics are huge in France. Huge in France. And meanwhile, America's comic book industry is dying. Everybody's like, oh, well, comic books are a thing of the past. Manga's killing it. Yeah. So maybe it's because we're producing really crappy content.
Yeah, and how come French comics can have, like, cool, like, I don't want to say adult, but, like, serious topics and settings, and we're still stuck with bad cape stuff or really indie-fied comics that might be worth it. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, we suck. Amid the failures of Suicide Squad and the multiverse, which looks like multiverse is going to be a loss of like $100 million for them, Warner Brothers Games president has stepped down after 12 years. I would have too.
Wow.
If I counted that massive failure, I also would have left.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's rough.
In more Dragon Age news, EA CEO admits that BioWare's Dragon Age Veilguard failed because it did not resonate with a broad enough audience in this highly competitive market. Because you narrowed its appeal.
Yep.
That's what happens when
I'm sure they thought they were broadening it.
Yeah. That's what happens when you put politics into things. You narrow its appeal. What you want is to broaden its appeal. I like Dragon Age. I own the collector's edition for the first one. I own the second one. I own the Inquisition. Love Dragon Age. The politics in Veilguard made me not interested in purchasing it. I didn't access your game because it didn't have enough appeal for someone who's already a fan of your product. You shot yourself in the foot and you're sitting there going like, I don't understand. Like, you know what's happened. You know what you did.
Well, that's what's so fascinating to me is they keep, and all, like, how do I put this? They keep changing Dragon Age, like, for a while, it's kind of like little bit by little bit from what it was originally, almost like out of a fear that it was too old school CRPG, is how I read it. Mm-hmm. The point now where, I mean, it looks like slop. It just looks like slush. It doesn't look like anything unique or different. And then you look over at D&D and with their, Baldur's Gate 3 game, and it's killing it. One of the most popular games ever. Mm-hmm. And it fully leans into the nerd shit. So do that. Like, what made your game awesome? We'll lean into that still.
Well, everybody's like,
I get making games a little bit more accessible, but like that has to do with like a little bit more in the gameplay loop. I mean, if you look at like Elder Scrolls, dude, I love Daggerfall, the second Elder Scrolls game. It is bizarre to the even to me. I mean, technically, I was alive when it came out, but it's kind of almost you can't get around how strange it is. Like you have to really try. So little by little, Bethesda made it more accessible to the point where Morrowind saved the company from bankruptcy. Oblivion made them more popular in the mainstream gaming. And then you have Skyrim, which is it is the RPG to normal people now.
Yeah.
But they still like all their lore and stuff. I mean, they've changed lore a little bit here and there, but it's not as lame as Dragon Age is. Like, they kept it pretty close. Like, what the hell's wrong with these people?
Well, it's like after the live service comment, it's like Baldur's Gate was the thing, and that didn't have a live service. You want to know something else
No,
that's
not
shocking?
really.
Baldur's Gate also had a trans individual in it and LGBTQ characters in it. And why did that not matter? Is because they didn't make the game about that.
Yeah.
Therein
They
lies
make
the
it
difference.
smug and shitty.
Yeah, they didn't make it all smug and shitty. That's the world we live in. Why did they think this was gonna work? Oh, they're so stupid.
I have no clue. It's so stupid. I mean, it's genuinely baffling. I mean, God, especially if you look at, I mean, just how Dragon Age 3 looks compared to Dragon Age 1. And it is hilarious. Because Dragon Age, I mean, dude, you get done with a battle, your character's just covered in blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they did that on purpose. They loved it. They wanted it to be this like sword porn sort of hardcore fighting. And come to think of the Dragon Age games, they slowly got worse. 1 was amazing. 2 got a little bit more arcadey and dumb, but it was still fun. Inquisition, I liked it, but it got dumber and a bit more political. Yeah. And now we have Veilguard that just went off the cliff, and now the franchise is dead.
Yeah, Dragon Age is a very strange case in gaming, where it hit its peak with the very first game.
Yeah, and got worse with every subsequent game. 2 wasn't as good as 1. Inquisition wasn't as good as 2, and Veilguard is the worst of them all.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible.
Some of this is that we were talking about that trend chasing earlier. They were chasing a trend rather than chasing what they did that made them excel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and gaming's been really bad for it the last decade and a half. I mean, it's kind of always a thing. I mean, because the landscape changes a little bit, right? But at the same time, like, how come Nintendo is able to make a Legend of Zelda game that's open world and stuff, but it still feels like Zelda? Like, feels like Link is still doing Link stuff.
Trend chasing, I think, is a feature.
You can do it. Yeah.
That was always a thing. Shooters become huge, everybody makes a shooter. Hero shooters become huge, everybody makes a hero shooter. We had the age of real-time.
How long was it that Halo was the thing they were chasing, right?
Yeah. They are, if nothing, a trend chaser. That's all they do is chase what's trending. And the thing they were chasing recently is no longer trending.
Halo killer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what's the Halo killer? Halo.
Halo.
Halo itself.
343 Industries, turns out. Excuse me, Halo Studios now.
Yeah. It was self-inflicted. It was
it was an embarrassing, retarded death.
A self-delete, if you will.
Kinda. Yeah, it was hilarious. The
Sudoku of gaming.
Poor Halo. Sudoku of gaming. Absolutely right. Yep.
Hey everybody, Invincible Season 3 is out. I don't care. I'm only pointing it out because I never finished Season 2, because Season 2 wasn't that great. Get hyped for Season 3.
Yeah.
Godzilla Brother's so hyped.
Is he?
And I'm so excited.
I think. I know he watched it.
Yeah, I don't...
Well,
Invincible kind of sucks.
Not gaming. What superheroes needed is another dour, takedown of the superhero genre. Thank God for that.
Deconstruction, if you will.
Oh, deconstructed so hard.
You know who made Invincible?
The Walking Dead guy?
Yes, it is. The that wrote The Walking Dead wrote Invincible. You can see it just a little bit.
Oh God.
Hey, so there's a drama with Marvel and Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld created Deadpool, and
Okay.
he went to the premiere for Deadpool and Wolverine, and he took pictures with the cast and stuff, he felt like they took the pictures in a superficial, just so that they can show it sort of way, and no intention of publishing the pictures. And apparently there was a history of he wrote it and they would have him come in, but they would treat him like he didn't exist. And he got so fed up with it that he's now left Marvel.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Yeah, he feels like they've been pushing him away and ignoring him entirely, and he left Marvel over it. Like, look, you created the character. You deserve all of the respect and honor and success from the fact you created a character that became so successful. If you feel like they've been pushing you out and disrespecting you when you are the one that made this whole thing, I suppose you have a certain justification and a right to be angry about how you're being treated. The fact that Marvel is losing something like him is also not great, but he's left. He says, and I quote, "At some point you go. I've received the message, and the message is clear. Seems like they don't want him anymore." And he has been having problems with Marvel for a while, but it seems to have culminated with how he was treated over the movies. Yeah, Marvel's not great.
Well, and did you, I mean, not to get into Hollywood drama gossip bullshit, but, I'm sure you've heard vaguely of the bullshit with Blake Lively.
Yes, the only reason why I haven't brought it up is because it's a lot of back and forth hearsay, and I don't know who's right.
Oh. Yeah, right. And I don't want to get into it any deeper than this, other than it's funny that maybe Nice Pool was a caricature of Justin Baldoni, but well, unconfirmed.
Yeah, no. There's rumors that it was them making fun of him.
Nice. Good job.
All I can tell you is I don't know the details, but superficially, Blake Lively was considered the victim, and everybody rallied around her because of her and her popular husband. Then, as information leaked and text message and whatnot, they all seemed to rally around the other guy, and Blake Lively and her husband are now considered the bad guys in this story.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So
she completely dropped the ball on that one, I think.
Yes. Disney Plus has lost 700,000 subscribers because of the price hike.
Holy crap.
Also, I would say bad content.
Do we know how many subscribers they have total? I'm curious.
I don't. Silver, look
sure,
that up.
Millions.
I'm gonna make Silver do thing.
Yeah, Silver.
Disney Plus. I mean, we went over the numbers a little while back, but they didn't have a show breaching the top 10 of most popular shows of the last year.
Yeah, which is bad. And it seems like the finances at Disney are just kind of crazy right now. Where they're and look, I know some of that is kind of you sort of have to do to keep track of things. I'm not, but where they're like robbing Peter to pay Paul, sort of thing. Like, yes, this movie has made us money because Disney Plus paid for it to put it on. It's like, oh, okay, well that doesn't make a lot. We licensed it from ourselves, and I the other thing is too with the subscription count for Disney, whatever it may be, is how much of that is people getting it through their cell phone contract too. That's a big part of it, at least in this country.
That's how we first got Disney Plus,
right? So it's the only reason I have Paramount Plus is for my work. So
Silver,
like,
we have any numbers?
Okay, so yeah. As of the third quarter of 2024, Disney Plus had 153.8 million subscribers worldwide, However, Disney Plus lost 700,000 subscribers in the final 3 months of 2024.
Well, there you go. Not necessarily,
And
not quite 1%, but still a significant number.
that's still all in the last little while, though. That's rough. That's an exodus.
Yeah. It says they're expecting another significant decline into 25.
Yeah, that's a lot of people all at once.
There are rumors that they're going to bring back Jonathan Majors.
Well, you handled getting him out of there so well, so that you literally dropped his bad guy, his antagonist character, and brought back the other guy to play a bad guy now. Like, you brought back RDJ.
To be fair,
That looks
I believe in the rule of law.
Sure.
I know people wanted to hate him because of the rumors and stuff involving his girlfriend and him punching her, which probably happened. But she dropped the charges. So if the charges were dropped and he didn't do it, why should he be punished for something that no one has been able to prove that he did in court? Now, I know a lot of people want to, it's like punish the person in the court of popular opinion or punish them legally. I don't like to simply believe somebody is bad because we all want them to be bad. I don't think he should come back because he's a bad person. He's a bad character and a bad actor and a bad show. That being said, should he be punished for something that he's been exonerated, so to speak? Legally speaking? And I don't think we should do that. So, but, whatever. I think there's credible evidence that he's probably a rough boyfriend, but she has dropped said charges. But this definitely ruined his career. I'm just saying, should we really destroy somebody's career over stuff that we just want to be true, as opposed to do we know all the information?
Oh yeah, and on that count, I don't wish the man any ill will personally, especially if he didn't do it. Good. I'm glad you're not that guy. But as far as MCU is concerned, what are you doing? Don't not from a political how it looks viewpoint, but from the story viewpoint.
Yeah,
all that shit sucked. Let him be.
The character sucked. Nobody liked it. I liked him in that movie where
it was convenient that he had to leave.
Correct. I liked him in that movie where he flew the Corsair in Korea at the onset of the Korean War.
Oh yeah,
I liked him in that. Yeah. Famously, he was the pilot. He played the pilot that, against orders, risked his life to blow up one of the bridges crossing into North Korea from China, which helped slow down resources and men being able to pour into the Korean Peninsula. That's right. It was a patriotic black man that did that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to end this night with a little conversation about a little game called Kingdom Come Deliverance. So this game has come out. Me and Ross are huge fans of Kingdom Come Deliverance. Ross got me into it. Mm-hmm. I bought it solely on the fact that he was the game creators were lambasted politically for not having enough diversity in their game. And I said, you know what? Because his response was, is medieval Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic, it doesn't make any sense that we would have diversity. They're like, well, there could be a traitor. And it's like, oh, nonsense. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy it on principle. And I bought the game, and it wasn't until a year or two later I finally played it, and I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It has a really good sword combat system. Now, we've got the onset of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and wouldn't you know it, there's a lot of controversy surrounding the game. One in particular, that there is political stuff inserted into it that he defended himself for not existing in the first game. In particular, there is a black trader from the Kingdom of Mali, confusingly all the way up from Africa to trade with Czechs. And if you follow it,
Why?
have
Why
you
would he
seen
go
the-
anywhere near there when there's Byzantium? But whatever.
Yeah, well, have you seen the dialogue? Because usually ancient trading wouldn't be somebody from across the world coming over. They would trade goods to nearby places who would trade goods to nearby places. It was sort of a segmented stuff traveled across. You didn't have someone
Right.
from China
Yeah.
walking all the way to Rome or whatever. That didn't happen. So if there was a trader like him, he probably would have traded to somebody like Byzantium or somewhere in Italy, who would then trade it up into other places. Like, that's how this works. Regardless, we have a black individual in the game, which is like, it's fun. Yeah, okay, I guess whatever justification. Have you seen the dialogue between the characters, Ross? When talking to them?
I've heard some things, but
Yeah, he
Nothing
basically
confirmed.
says white people have flavorless food and how much better his country is, and they treat their women better. And white people food is bland and it needs more spices, and it's like so people started to lambast that character in particular, for a few different reasons. One, they wouldn't have had very good women rights in the very Muslim Bali.
Yeah.
Apparently at that time Bali was practicing cannibalism, so I don't know about their food being that much better. Long pig might actually be tasty or whatever.
long pig.
Also, the smug foreigner who's like, everything's so much better from my country, you guys are savages, doesn't play well. I'm just gonna say.
Well, especially when the head of the studio just a few years ago was being Mr. Based Man about it and being very vocal in that way, and well, now your game has this stereotype in it, which is also a Twitter stereotype, by the way.
Yes.
Like white people food, no spices. Like, goddamn.
Additionally, the prince in the game, who historically wasn't gay, is now bisexual.
Of course.
So, and also your character is now the sexuality of whoever's playing it. So you can make them straight or gay or whatever because you're playing them. Which now opens up the fact that you can romance sort of your friend who's the prince of the game, which comes into a confusing element. One, the characters weren't like that in the last one, which is confusing.
Yeah.
And if there was, now that there's this romance option, it calls into question the first game, because now it's inserting sexual tension that didn't exist between two characters.
Yeah, at all.
And it's
in the
suddenly
first
being
game.
forced into it in a game set in ancient Bohemia in the Middle Ages during the Holy Roman Empire and the fight over who would become the next ruler. Like, these are historical events.
Yeah,
which now
yeah,
everybody's
the Hussite
like-
Wars, absolutely. It's a real
Yeah,
thing.
so now everybody's like, oh, this is kind of bullshit, if I'm going to be honest. So a bunch of Steam reviews have been lambasted with negative reviews because they don't like how it shifted, to the point where Steam is reportedly hiding negative reviews to the game on Steam.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
From a studio that seems somewhat based to suddenly seems like they're bending the knee to the political paradigm, which makes me think, did they get money from BlackRock to change their tune?
Yeah. I guarantee they got some money. I would not be surprised in the slightest.
Regardless, it seems to be selling well. Which I guess good for them. It's now scared me away from purchasing
Yeah.
it, though.
I'm definitely not getting it right away.
It still might be good, and these might be minor things that you can ignore or push to the side and not interact with. So it's not affecting one's experience. But the fact that this sort of politics is recrammed into a game that deliberately was trying to be historically accurate, not political, is really disappointing. One thing that would be pointed out, Ross, if you remember the first game, you could visit a lot of churches and stuff and go inside them and look at the murals and whatnot. You can't do that anymore.
What?
Yeah, apparently for lack of
They
time,
decide that
you don't have the ability to go in the churches anymore and look at all of the cute, cool architecture and murals.
That's so stupid.
You know what you can go into?
Hmm.
A synagogue.
What, go terrorize the local Jewish population? Why would you do that? They
I
wouldn't
don't
let you
know.
in.
I don't know.
What the? What? Is Henry gonna convert? Oi, you know Henry. Like,
I like so many points.
Henry Goldenstein Rubenwitz. Like, what? Why?
There was a joke on the internet that we're expecting the mosque DLC so we can interact with those, but
Oh my god, that is so weird.
yep. But you
I
know,
mean, literally, the only reason Henry would be doing that is to go terrorize the local Jewish a pogrom. That's why he'd be going in there. What the hell's happening?
Create a blood libel and blame them for
Oh my
things.
god.
Yeah. Despite that, apparently the sales are pretty good. They're claiming over 1 million sold, but that doesn't mean that the sales won't flounder as people do or do not like the game. So if word gets out that if they're not happy with it, those sales could stop right there. Because we forget that Dragon Age Veilguard did like 1.5, and apparently that was abysmal sales for them considering the cost. So compared to the cost of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, who knows? But so far the sales are doing pretty well. I'm not wishing the game ill, but I also don't have to purchase your game because I don't like the stupid garbage that you're doing with it. We will see if it proves to be very good, and maybe I'll play it down the road if it's on sale or I get bored.
Yeah, they have the version with all the DLC.
Yeah, buy the mega version, the ultimate version.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, it's been fun. One thing we did miss last week is Fight Night. We missed it last week, and I know we're all really upset. But yes, Jason, take over.
Yeah. This week, we have the Flatwoods Monster.
Let's see, where is it? Oh, Flatwoods Monster.
Yeah. Flatwoods Monster versus the Beast of Bray Road. So just to give you a reminder on the stats for these ones.
Hey, Jason, real quick, why is one of them a Tonberry from Final Fantasy? What's happening?
They got mega.
Do you have a little knife? Is he going to slowly walk towards me and then do an absurd amount of damage?
Yeah.
Possibly.
I'd like to see a Cactar show up with a 1,000 needles attack.
Flatwood Monster was a tall man-like figure with round red face and surrounded by a pointed hood-like shape. Approximately 10 feet tall.
Jeez.
Okay.
Good lord. 10 to 12 it says
the
here.
Eyes emitted greenish-orange light, and it had a dark black or green body. Had small claw-like hands and head resembling the ace of spades. It makes a hissing sound. And they smelled a pungent mist, and some later said they were nauseated. That is the Flatwoods Monster.
Pukey mist.
The Beast of Bray Road, described by alleged witnesses as being between 6 feet and 7 feet tall, humanoid-style body covered in fur or hair, and head resembling a wolf. Large glowing red or orange eyes, purported to have been seen moving both as a quadruped and a biped, Some describe it more closely resembling a traditional werewolf or Bigfoot. Animal mutilations have been reported around the area of Bray Road, with the animal remains, including deer and livestock, partially eaten, with specific organs removed from the carcasses.
Has the Flatwood Monster killed anything?
So there we go. No, I don't think so.
Well, he's too slow. It's the Tonberry, like I said. He's just real big.
Yeah. I have serious questions about
Yeah, it doesn't
the
even
powers
do
and
much.
capabilities of this thing. It just seems like a giant spooky man who stinks. Smells.
Hey, he's got some BO, you know? Listen, hey, why do you have to be so rude to the man, you know? He's not trying to kill nobody. He's just wandering the world, you know?
Hey, maybe he was just lost and was looking for the keys to his spaceship, and they
or the
completely
shower.
misinterpreted it.
But
and
first
ran
of
away
all,
screaming.
He's
First
locked
of all-
himself out of the spaceship.
Yeah. First of all, I'm a belligerent douche, and I'm not kind to everybody, so shove it, Ross. Secondly, this might be the only scenario where the biggest monster doesn't win because I have no definable powers or abilities or characteristics. He's just a big stinky monster. Whereas
I
at
love
least the
him for
Beast of
that.
Bray Road is a giant werewolf. Well, Ross has bias.
Listen,
Silver,
I'm
what-
thinking the Beast of Bray Road is actually an NBA player that's a furry. All right, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, come on,
no.
6 to 7 feet tall.
Shaquille,
I'm just
Shaquille
saying.
O'Neal wandering the forest in a in a
What's
a
up,
wolf
y'all?
outfit.
I'm a cryptid, y'all.
Still can't do free throws, but whatever.
Listen, he'll break the backboard. All right, God, why do you leave the free throws alone? He's fine.
Yeah, well, that's why you foul him so that he has to do a lot of free throws because he sucks.
Just embarrass him, shame him.
Well, he's unstoppable because he's so big and he can dunk it. So you foul him, and then he can't hit the free throws because he sucks at it, and that's how they were able to defeat this giant man. I know sports ball. Silver, what do you got for us?
All right. ChatGPT.
Uh-huh.
According to ChatGPT, who would win? In a direct physical fight, the Beast of Bray Road would likely have the upper hand. Its physical strength, speed, and predatory nature give it an advantage in combat. The Flatwoods monster, while potentially possessing psychic or otherworldly powers, seems more reliant on fear, surprise, or influence rather than brute force. However, the Flatwoods monster could use its potential alien abilities to disorient or control the beast in some way, like through
What
psychic
alien
influence or
abilities?
emitting toxic gases. I don't know. It might have a shot at winning, but in terms of raw physical combat, the Beast of Bray Road seems like the stronger contender.
Listen. All right, we're talking a lot about everyone in the media is talking a lot about the capabilities of the Braywood monsters. But what he's got going on.
Everybody
Beast
in
of
the
Bray
media.
Road. But what we're not talking about is what we don't know about the Flatwoods monster. All right, we don't know what he's got going on. Maybe he got a gun under there. Maybe he's got a dog whistle.
Good!
Maybe he's got a
You
little
know what?
high-pitched dog whistle. Maybe the Beast of Bray Road. Maybe he don't want to come by.
Ross,
His mouth. How can you blow that whistle?
first of all, according to that logic, the Beast of Bray Road might shoot lasers out of his ass. We don't know.
Hey, no, I
what
think
we
that
don't
dummy.
know
I
that's
think he's
more
showing his
dangerous-
cards.
No,
That's
no,
what I'm
it's-
thinking.
It's what we don't know that's more dangerous than what we do know. He could be an amazingly powerful monster who's brilliant, who does physics, and carries around a laser. Shoots from his
He's wearing a
arms.
white lab coat and drawn on the whiteboard.
He's just out doing experiments and people
you
keep
know-
getting in his way, and so he has to maul them to death.
The evidence of absence, not the absence of evidence. All right, that's all I'm saying.
No, I don't buy this. He could do so much more because we don't know. It's you can just extrapolate that to any flipping
We have to-
monster. Bigfoot can fly.
In
You
order
haven't
to
seen
call
his
this, we have
wings.
to
What are you
rely on
talking
what
about?
we do know.
No.
And what I do know is that the Flatwoods monster is my homie. That's what I do know.
First
all right?
of all,
maybe he got the
Jason,
blicky with the switch underneath that robe.
the only rule
But-
is what you can argue. It has nothing to do with what's legitimate.
No,
The thing is
they're
we're
off
going
on
to have
this
to
one.
side,
Look
I
at that
think, with the
thing.
Beast of Bray Road on this one because the Flatwood Monster just we have to rely on what we do know, which is that we know that the Beast of Bray Road is more of a werewolf type monster, and we don't know enough to. I mean, we could speculate all night, but that's all we got is the better description of the Beast of Bray Road.
No,
Yeah.
here's what I'm saying.
Okay.
When the Flatwoods monster rolls up and finds the Beast of Bray Road, who is Shaquille O'Neal in a fursuit, he's gonna challenge him to a dunk contest, and my 10 to 12 foot tall boy is gonna embarrass him. That's what's gonna happen.
You know what I'm not afraid of? Flatwood Monster salad fingers. That's what I'm not afraid of.
You talk about palm of a basketball, all right? That's what I'm saying.
Thing is, the world,
Also, like-
this fight isn't decided by a battle between two individuals at basketball. This isn't the famous historical film Space
Have we
Jam.
not established the Beast of Bray Road is just Shaquille O'Neal?
No, we haven't established
All right, they're
that.
gonna 1v1,
No.
and my 10 to 12 foot tall boy is gonna win.
First of all, we haven't established that. Second of all, even if it was Shaquille O'Neal, it's still not a battle of basketball. It's who would win in a fight. And for all we know, the Flatwoods Monster is a farty giant man wandering in the forest.
Who will win at basketball? All right, and I think, we're talking about the Beast of Bray Road with his white coat, drawn on the whiteboard. I think you'll see like violence is not the answer, and we're gonna do this old fashioned way like we did on the streets and play 1v1 basketball. All right,
First
that's what I'm
of
saying.
all, violence is always the answer. It's never not been the answer. It resolves every question. Think of a question that can't be solved by violence.
I'm not saying the game won't be rough. All right, there's no ref.
What are you,
It's
like,
gonna
this
get a
is
little bit dirty.
street ball between the two? What are you talking about here?
Yeah,
Bunch of people on the side, like hollering and flashing gang signs because it's the wrong kind of neighborhood.
on the other side of the chain link fence. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're full of it. We're looking at what is described potentially as a resembling werewolf or Bigfoot, and I'm really in. I am little do people know. One of my favorite films is A Werewolf in Paris.
Hell yeah,
And the authenticity.
good choice.
Lest we forget when freaking Wolverine turned into a werewolf in that movie with the overly dramatic Frankenstein monster. Once again, a historical film. It's a documentary.
The events were filmed in real time. Absolutely.
In real time. With the sexy vampire women who float around, and then they were having children, but they kept dying because they're dead. So the little bat babies can survive. Beast of Bray Road is my vote, especially on principle. It makes me happy. It elevates my mood when Ross loses.
Well, listen, you're gonna be real embarrassed when my Flatwoods monster when he just absolutely crushes in 1v1 basketball the Beast of Bray Road. All right.
This isn't a
We
basketball
can go back
match,
to the
Ross.
Fleetwood Monster, please.
Oh my gosh, Silver.
Thank you.
Oh, look at him, my boy, my beautiful boy with his turban-shaped head. Oh, look at it, it's beautiful, like the
I need
onion
Ross on this
dome of an Aladdin castle. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this seems like a foreigner
All
that
that
should be
brain in there.
deported. That should be deported, and in the current political environment, this guy's getting kicked back over the.
How dare you?
border.
He has his green card. He is here legally. He has a visa. Okay, so don't you dare.
He's
He's
got
just
that,
here to learn,
He's got that
play a little
fart smell
1v1
on
basketball. That's all. Like
him.
that,
We haven't
like
told
that
him
street ball.
about modern cleanliness yet.
Well, he doesn't like aluminum-based, deodorant.
So what's the verdict here? How many we got for the Flatwoods
Well,
Monster?
Silver
One?
has yet to weigh in.
Well, So far, I'm with Ross on this one. Clearly,
Okay.
the Flatwoods monster
on.
is the greatest monster.
You're just salty because your boy lost in his bout.
The flipping flappy feet.
Do not slander the Dover Demon.
I will slander the Dover Demon. You're no
Look,
longer
and this guy's
legitimate.
kind of reminiscent of him because of the alien-esque features. But here's what I'm thinking. This thing walks up to Beast of Bray Road over there, and they're in their basketball court, whatever. And
They're not playing basketball.
here comes the Flatwoods monster. Here comes the Flatwoods monster. He's trying to get through the Beast of Bray Road's defense, and he's got to use a distraction tactic. Now, we don't know what's under that skirt thing. You can't see the legs. It could be like one sexy leg. So
You
it
can't-
exposes it.
You can't imply just because you don't know
With
that
a garter.
it could be something else. Now you're just
Exposes
making
the
crap
sexy
up.
leg and goes in for the dunk.
Yeah, well, Beast of Bray Road is a cyborg and is immune to whatever fart gases and sexy legs that Flatwood Monster
A
can
cyborg that mutilates animals. I don't buy it, Red. Not
I
this
doesn't
think
photo
that as
op.
soon as the
No,
Flatwoods
the
monster
thrill.
goes for the jump ball, the Beast of Bray Road just
They're
takes
not
his legs
playing
out from underneath
basketball.
him, and as he falls on his face,
do. No
he just
one
mauls him to death.
is playing basketball. This is not a thing. Stop playing into Ross's delusions.
Given the scenario that it's not playing basketball, okay, this thing's like 10 to 12 feet tall. We don't know how long those freaking claws are exactly.
They
but
look
we can
like
imply that they're
fingers.
Very long. Yeah, but as soon as
Except
it,
that we
it
do
clawed.
know. We do know the clawed
Claw.
part. They are
Yeah.
small.
So
Yeah,
after
my hand's
the
clawed too. Did
Flatwoods
you know that?
monster-
I have claws.
He has small claw-like hands. So the Flatwoods monster has small claw-like hands.
Look at the skinny little arms.
Yeah.
Small. His arms
Well,
are skinny,
there
but
you go.
those claws ain't small. He's 10 feet tall. He could just crush your head like a
Yeah.
grape.
So
With
he's
the
gonna go
weak
through,
hands.
distract him with the sexy leg, appear like he's gonna dunk, and stab the frickin' Bray Road monster.
This is the worst and
Win
most
the
nonsensical
Flatwoods
argument.
monster.
No. I disown you, Silver, and will destroy you later.
Listen, that thing has like the leg out of the Christmas Story.
I have no cousin. Freaking, you're just doing this to piss me off. And I'm unhappy
I am
about
super
it.
serious. This thing's the winner.
You're super, well, now that we've set an impasse, we don't have rules set in for a tie, Jason.
We have done where we come back, but we could just flip a coin.
No, I'm not going to give them a chance to win this. That's not going to happen.
Please. Flip a coin, please. It could be brilliant or devastating.
I'm so excited, please.
No, I'm not happy with this. Jason, this is your segment.
That is a good question.
Oh my God.
How we could revisit this next week and hope that there's one less of them.
Oh!
Oh. Ooh,
they
Silver might be
Still
cool.
count the other person's
yes,
vote
this
from the previous week, even if
yes.
not present.
No, yes, we are revisiting next week. Hopefully, Silver is swamped with homework or Ross has died.
Silver, I swear to God, you come here for just this, okay? We can't let our boy lose.
Dude,
Our
I'm
beautiful
showing up no
Tonberry
matter
looking
what.
boy.
Not if
I
I
have a
don't.
test Friday, so there's no chance I can not be here Saturday. So they're gonna die.
Yeah, you don't think that there aren't things that I can do to you in the meantime.
Oh!
It's just like a call-in from the local hospital. It's like, Flatwoods monster, please.
Well, who says they would find your body?
Oh my god.
For all we know, she went missing.
Okay, I'll send
Like
it in a recording to Ross.
Like
It's just me saying I vote Flatwood Monster
No.
beforehand.
No,
Your
no,
Honor,
it has
I
to
would
be-
like to
No, it
present
has to
the
be on the day.
evidence that my client was threatened physically for her vote for the Flatwoods Monster, who, by the way, can palm a basketball and
This
is a
is not a
great
basketball
streetball player.
game.
I just want to make that clear.
This is not a basketball game. You can't pre-vote. You can only vote when arguments are presented at the time. There's no pre-vote.
We all know who's the winner.
She has a mail-in ballot. It's perfectly legal in the state. All right.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
not
that's
on this
true.
podcast. Mail-in ballots are illegitimate. We don't. First of all, I need voter ID. Second of all, I need to confirm residency. Like none of that's happening. In-day voting forever. So expect a dead Flatwoods Monster next week as we readdress this problem. And Silver dies in mysterious circumstances.
Brett and Jason be pounded to the dirt.
Silver dies of mysterious circumstances.
We regret to inform you that Silver could not be here this day because she took 1,000 beatings to the face.
I've already been threatening that. It's just time I followed through. Well, everybody, we are reaching the end of this podcast. I am so happy you have joined us for our nonsensical discussions. If you enjoy the podcast, like, comment, subscribe. And I know that's the cliche that every podcast does. Like, comment, subscribe. Engagement is super important for podcasts because it makes them show up in the algorithm more. So is liking. And also, we like when you say things and then we get belligerent because you don't agree with us. Like siding with the Flatwoods Monster. Don't do
Unbelievable,
it.
Flatwoods Monster should have won. Do it.
Shut up. Shut up. I can mute you.
Okay, promise.
But, sweet. It's been fun. Episode 52. It's going to be a wrap. Final thoughts, Jason.
Let's see. Final thoughts. Disagree with us all you want. Enjoy whatever it is you like. We don't care. But let us know what you do like so that we can make fun of it.
That's the point. Ross?
Thanks for coming around. I'm very excited to still keep playing Sniper Elite Resistance. People are pissing and moaning that it's just a reskin of 5. I don't care. It's fun. It's enjoyable.
Is it just me, or does the voice actor sound like Jason Statham?
Oh, I'm going to be honest. Not that it matters because I just see the back of his head for 90% of the game. I hate Harry Hawker in this game. He sucks. His voice actor is like, he's not a bad voice actor, but God, that accent is hilarious. And he's like, I like how the guy in the rest of the other games, who I can't remember his name right now, he's like chiseled jawline, bald American man, and this guy's got like a pudgy round face with a beard. It's so funny to me. Like, whatever. It's a good game.
Harry Hawker?
Harry Hawker is his name.
That's a weird name.
Very British.
Very British. Silver, we're not that interested in what you have to say, but spew it out before we get out of here.
I'm not interested in what I have to say either.
Sweet. It's mutual.
I don't know. Can't play any video games because of school.
Sure.
Go play a fun game. Go play a fun game for me. I'll feel the energy of the fun game whenever you play. While I die.
What is this, Goku summoning the ball? Send me your energy.
Send me your energy.
That thing always sucks and he misses way too frequently for it to be effective. Anyway, thanks everybody. We're getting out of here. Goodbye.
Bye.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.